I flew them all to Hawaii. They booked me in a motel an hour away. Just because you paid doesn't mean we want you around, my brother joked. I didn't argue, just smiled and left something in the hotel safe. When they found it, they started screaming. It was supposed to be the trip that changed everything. For the first time in years, I'd planned a real family vacation. Not a rushed long weekend at my apartment. Not a chaotic Thanksgiving where everyone yelled about politics. A real slow, golden sunset memory-making kind of trip. I spent 11 months planning it. No exaggeration. I created folders. I made spreadsheets. I researched group rates and credit card points. I compared resorts, ranked beaches by accessibility and kid-friendliness, and cross-checked weather trends for the shoulder season. I even paid a travel agent a small consultation fee to make sure I wasn't getting scammed because I wanted this to be perfect, and not just for me, for them, for my mom, Jill, who hadn't had a real vacation in over a decade, for Rick, my stepdad, who worked overtime shifts at the auto shop and talked about Hawaii like it was some mythical place he'd never see, for Brandon, my younger brother, and his wife Haley, who always seemed stressed and exhausted but still showed up for Christmas even when money was tight, and for Erin, my cousin, and her little boy Liam. He'd never been on a plane before. I wanted him to see the ocean. I'd been the boring one my whole life. Responsible Natalie. Quiet Natalie. The one who showed up with jumper cables and remembered everyone's birthdays. But maybe, just maybe, this trip would be the moment they'd look at me and see something more. Someone they were proud of. I wasn't rich. Far from it. I work in IT support and live in a modest apartment. I budgeted for this trip the way some people plan for a wedding. Canceled other plans, said no to upgrades at the dentist, skipped birthdays, declined dates. I'd been working toward this single week in Hawaii like it was the finish line to a race no one else knew I was running. So when we landed and walked out into the humid plumeria-scented air, my heart was full. I even took a deep breath and thought, this is it. We got our lees. We took the awkward group photo. I tipped the shuttle driver in advance to help with the bags. Everyone was smiling. Even Brandon seemed relaxed for once, making Liam laugh with bad pirate impressions. When we pulled up to the resort, it looked exactly like the pictures. Maybe better. White columns, green palms swaying, that kind of soft golden light that makes everything look like a travel ad. I stepped up to the check-in desk, excited to surprise everyone with how well I'd planned it. The rooms were ocean-facing. I'd arranged welcome baskets with local snacks and reef-safe sunscreen. I had even pre-booked a beach dinner for the third night. The receptionist smiled politely. Name? Natalie Fielding. I booked the Fielding family group. She typed, scanned the screen, frowned. I see the group booking here, but your name isn't on the room list. You're in a separate reservation. Royal Sands Motel. My smile faltered. No, that's not right. I booked everything under my name. She tilted the screen slightly, showing me the breakdown. The names were all there. Jill, Rick, Brandon, Haley, Erin, Liam, but not mine. That's when Brandon walked over, holding 2 room keys like he owned the place. Oh yeah, he said, casual. We moved your spot to a quieter place up the road. Figured you'd want your space, I laughed, unsure if it was a joke. Wait, what? Haley joined him, sunglasses already on. It's better that way, isn't it? The motel's super close. Just an hour, I blinked. Why would I stay in a motel? Brandon shrugged. Look, just because you paid doesn't mean we want you around the whole time. He said it like it was funny, like we were still at baggage claim and he was teasing me about my carry-on. Haley chuckled. Come on, don't be weird about it. Weird, right? Of course. Jill finally stepped in, arms crossed like she was bracing for drama. Honey, it's no big deal. There just wasn't room for everyone, and Erin really wanted to stay with us. Plus, you like quiet, don't you? You've always been independent. The polite word for unwanted. Rick mumbled something like, "You'll be more comfortable there anyway," without looking at me. And I stood there in that cool, expensive lobby, holding my suitcase, realizing they'd all made the decision together behind my back. After I paid for everything, I could have fought it. I could have said, "Actually, no. I booked this. I deserve to be here." But the words caught in my throat. My heart pounded in my ears. My face felt hot. Instead, I nodded. "Sure," I said. "Sounds peaceful." I took the new address from the front desk and rolled my suitcase out through the side door, past the valet and the bellhop and the manicured hibiscus bushes. The Uber driver gave me a look when I told him where to go. "That place? You sure?" I smiled like it didn't matter. "Yeah, I'm sure." The motel was, well, it had a roof. I'll give it that. The room smelled like air freshener and unresolved crime. The beach access was technically accurate if you didn't mind crossing 2 roads and a parking lot to get to the strip of sand. The bedspread had a strange, sticky texture. I didn't care to investigate. The only view was of a rusty vending machine and a faded sign with half the bulbs out. "Royal Sands. Stay a while." I sat on the edge of the bed, suitcase still closed, and stared at the wall for a long time. I kept waiting for someone to call to say they'd made a mistake, to laugh and say, "Gotcha. You're actually staying with us. Come back." Nothing. I thought about the tiny gifts I'd packed for everyone. Hawaiian-themed puzzles for Liam, a set of local teas for Mom, a water-safe phone case Brandon had mentioned wanting. They were still zipped in my carry-on, neatly wrapped. I'd imagined handing them out the first night. Everyone pleasantly surprised, laughing over drinks by the pool. Instead, I was alone listening to a couple argue in the next room about whether the baby looked more like her ex. I showered in flip-flops. I couldn't bring myself to unpack. The next morning, I got up early and caught another Uber back to the resort, hoping, God knows why, that the mood had shifted. Maybe they'd had time to realize how wrong it all was. Maybe today they'd remember who booked this trip. Maybe I'd get a seat at the table. They were already having breakfast when I got there. Laughing, relaxed. Brandon wore a loud Hawaiian shirt and told a story I'd heard him borrow from me years ago. Haley had her sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. Jill was feeding Liam bites of fresh mango. No one noticed me walk up. "Hey," I said, trying to sound breezy. "Morning." Jill smiled vaguely. "Oh, Natalie. We didn't know you were coming." "I figured I'd catch up with you all," I said. "What's the plan today?" Rick glanced at Brandon. "We're thinking of hitting the beach." "Maybe the hike later," I nodded. "Should I meet you somewhere?" Haley tilted her head. "Oh, well, we thought you'd want to do your own thing." "I paid for the group snorkeling tour," I reminded them quietly. "It's at 2, right?" Brandon chewing. "We might just skip that." "Aaron wants to take Liam to the aquarium instead." I opened my mouth to say something. But what? That I'd spent hours booking things tailored to them? That I knew Rick hated boats but agreed to go because Jill was excited? That I had laminated itineraries printed for everyone, still tucked in my backpack like an idiot? Instead, I said, "Cool. Whatever works." There was no room at the table. Haley gestured toward the pool bar. "They've got great coffee if you want to grab something." I nodded again, then walked away before anyone could say another word. Not that they would have. They were already peeling off toward the beach, towels over shoulders, sunglasses on, like I didn't exist. But instead of heading toward the pool bar or the shuttle stop, I took a quiet left into the resort lobby. The air conditioning hit me like a wall, almost too cold after the heat outside. But it helped. It cleared my head. I stepped up to the reception desk. The same woman from check-in was there. She looked surprised to see me again. Can I leave something in the hotel safe? I asked. Of course. Would you like to set up a pickup code? No, I said. Just label it for the Fielding family. If I don't show up to breakfast tomorrow, please give it to them. She paused but didn't ask questions, just handed me a security envelope and logged the request. I sealed it, handed it over, and thanked her politely. Outside, I paused near a palm tree and watched my family from a distance. Brandon tried to teach Liam a handstand in the sand. Jill posed for a photo with Rick. Haley sipped from a coconut like a movie extra. They didn't even glance in my direction, but I wasn't waiting for their attention anymore. They had no idea what I'd already done. No idea that back at the motel after their little joke, I'd logged into every booking account and started quietly undoing everything. The inter-island flights, the excursions, the hotel extensions, the catamaran tour Brandon wouldn't shut up about. All of it. Gone. And now, tucked inside the hotel safe was something that would make sure they finally understood exactly what they'd thrown away. I didn't know what would hit harder, the cancellations or the words I left with them, but I could already picture the moment they opened it. The silence, the dawning confusion, and then the screaming. Let them enjoy their sunrise. It was the last free thing they'd get from me. It wasn't just about Hawaii. That's the thing people don't get when they hear stories like this. It never starts with a vacation or a hotel room. It starts years earlier, in the quiet moments where you realize you're not the favorite, not the funny one, not the golden child, just the one who's useful. I was 8 the first time I felt it. Brandon accidentally knocked over my Lego tower, a really complicated one I'd spent a week building. He laughed, said it was stupid, and walked away. When I told Mom, she barely looked up from the dishes. Don't be dramatic, Natalie. He's younger than you. Just build another one. That was the template. Brandon breaks it. I rebuild it. He forgets something. I remember it. He spends too much. I quietly pay the bill. And every time I asked for even the smallest acknowledgement, I got a pat on the shoulder and a reminder to be the bigger person. So, I became the bigger person. When Dad left, I stepped up. I helped Rick move in when Mom remarried. I made flashcards with Brandon for his algebra final. I let him borrow my car. I covered the Uber bill that night he got blackout drunk and lost his wallet. I didn't complain, not once, because I honestly believed that's what family did. And I think, in some small way, I thought if I kept doing the right thing, they'd eventually see me. Like really see me. Not just the helpful daughter, not just the polite one who remembered birthdays and sent thank you cards, but someone they were proud of. But every time I brought up something I wanted, moving out of state, traveling, maybe switching careers, it was always the same look from Mom. Worry and confusion, like I'd just told her I wanted to become a magician. But who would help with Brandon if something came up? What about your sister-in-law's doctor's appointment? You promised to drive her. You're the stable one. You're not like Brandon. He's sensitive. That was the word they used to excuse everything. When he yelled at me for forgetting to pack his charger for a weekend trip, sensitive. When he ghosted Haley for 2 weeks early in their relationship, and I had to lie to her face about why he wasn't texting back, sensitive. When he crashed his car after leaving a bar and called me instead of the police, sensitive. But me? I was solid. A rock. Natalie always handles things. The truth is, I didn't mind helping. Not at first. I like being dependable. I like being the person people trust. But it started to chip away at me when I realized it wasn't love holding that structure together. It was expectation, obligation, guilt. Like when I paid for Erin's moving truck after her ex left and she cried, saying I was the only one who'd been there for her, then didn't invite me to her son's birthday because there weren't enough chairs. Or when Mom called me in the middle of a work meeting because she needed help disputing a medical bill, then forgot to call back for my birthday a week later. Or when Brandon said he was proud of me for once, the day I got promoted, and in the same breath asked if I could lend him rent money. The Hawaii trip wasn't just about giving them something nice. It was a test, a question I wasn't brave enough to ask out loud. If I gave them everything, would they finally treat me like I mattered? And now, I had my answer. When I got back to the motel after breakfast that second day, I sat on the end of the bed and stared at the receipt for the Royal Sands Motel. I had paid for that too. Of course I had. It wasn't part of the original plan, but I picked up the cost when I was redirected there. Why wouldn't I? That's what I do. I stared at the $186.72 and felt the kind of quiet fury that doesn't show on your face. It just settles deep into your bones. That's when I opened my laptop, logged in, pulled up the travel itinerary I knew better than my own work calendar. I canceled the snorkeling tour, canceled the inter-island flights to Maui, canceled the helicopter ride Mom had said was too much, but secretly bragged about to her church group, canceled the rental car I'd reserved for Brandon and Haley's day trip. Then I logged into my email and removed every saved traveler profile except my own. I sent a short message to the resort's billing office requesting my card be removed from the account for any future incidentals. It felt like shutting off switches in a house I no longer lived in. Later that night, I walked past the resort again, not to spy, just to see if I could feel anything. Anger, regret, jealousy. Instead, I felt clarity. They sat by the pool, laughing, drinking. Brandon held court, of course, telling a story that may or may not have actually happened. Jill was wrapped in a shawl, Rick's arm around her shoulder, both of them glowing in the soft light. I could have been in that photo, but I wasn't. I stood there for a moment, visible to no one, just like always. Then I turned and walked back toward the road. Not back to the motel. Not just yet. I wasn't done. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to let them walk right into it. Let them sip their cocktails and plan their perfect day. Let them think I was still licking my wounds in a budget motel. What they didn't know was that the rug was already gone beneath their feet. And when they opened that envelope, well, I hoped the screaming would be loud enough to reach the shoreline. The first message came in at 9:12 a.m. the next day. "Hey, Natalie, are you around? We're not seeing your name on the catamaran manifest. Did you cancel the tour?" It was from Aaron, polite, confused, still hopeful that maybe this was just a mix-up. I didn't respond. At 9:24, Brandon called. I watched the screen light up once, twice, declined. At 9:28, a group text lit up. Brandon: "Sis, did you cancel our helicopter ride?" I put the phone face down on the nightstand and poured myself another cup of motel coffee. Burnt, bitter, perfect. I imagined the moment they opened the envelope. The resort staff would have handed it over sometime after breakfast, just like I asked. Someone probably shrugged, said, "Weird, maybe she left a thank you note," and ripped it open without thinking. And then the video would start. Just me sitting on the motel bed, framed neatly, calm as ever. "Hi. If you're watching this, you already know something's wrong. The rest of your trip has been canceled. Flights, excursions, hotel extensions, gone. Charges removed. Plans erased. Before you ask why, let me save you the time. You booked me in a motel an hour away because you didn't want me around. You made jokes about how I paid but wasn't part of the family. You thought I'd stay quiet like I always do, but not this time. Enjoy the rest of your stay on your own dime. Don't worry, I left the sunrise. It's the only thing here that's free, cut to black. No yelling, no accusations, just a polite nuclear bomb. By 10:01 a.m., my phone had 14 missed calls, 3 voicemails, and 1 absolutely unhinged wall of texts from Brandon. "Natalie, this isn't funny. Natalie, you're being a psycho. Natalie, grow up. You embarrassed Mom. You ruined the whole trip for everyone. What the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? Let's see. 10 years of unpaid emotional labor, 5 years of financial handouts, and one Hawaii trip where I was dumped in a roadside motel like luggage they didn't want to bring inside. Yeah, I guess I snapped. By 10:34, Jill called. I didn't answer, but I played the voicemail later. Her voice trembled. Natalie, sweetheart, I don't know what happened. I thought you were happy to have your own space. We didn't mean to make you feel left out. Can we please talk? You're scaring me. I almost laughed at that part. Scaring her. I'd been ghosted, gaslit, and guilt-tripped by these people my entire life. But now she was scared because I'd finally stopped smiling through it. Rick texted shortly after. Come on, let's be reasonable. You didn't have to go nuclear. That's rich coming from the guy who stood next to his wife while she pretended I didn't exist at breakfast. Around noon, things escalated. The resort billing office emailed me to confirm my card had been removed and the family had been notified. The remaining charges would now be billed directly to their rooms, if they could provide valid payment, which, according to another message from Aaron, was a problem. Why would you do this? None of us brought extra cards because you said you covered everything. Liam is crying. We can't even go to the aquarium today. I didn't respond, but I did laugh. Then I checked the comments on Brandon's Instagram post from the night before, the one with him shirtless on the beach captioned "Vacation Mode On." Someone had commented, "Sis didn't even pay for her own hotel. Elmo." Another, "Imagine being so trash your sister cancels your trip midweek." Apparently someone at the resort, maybe a staff member, maybe a guest, had shared the story online. A short TikTok titled, "When the family freeloader finally gets cut off." It was already blowing up. By evening, the texts had taken a sharp turn from outrage to desperation. Haley, "We're locked out of the second room." They said the card was declined. Jill, "Natalie, please. We didn't think it would hurt you like this." Rick, "Come back and talk to us." "We can fix this, Brandon." "You're dead to me." "Seriously, no one wants you in this family anymore." "This is why you're alone." Ah, there it was. The last card in the deck. You're alone. As if I didn't already know. As if I hadn't felt that every time they laughed without me, planned without me, lived like I was a background character in their main story. But here's the thing Brandon never understood. I might be alone, but I wasn't lonely. Not anymore. Because loneliness is sitting across from your own mother while she thanks your brother for bringing everyone together. When you booked the entire trip. Loneliness is realizing no one saved you a seat at breakfast. No one even noticed you weren't there. Solitude. Solitude is peace. I flew out that night. Window seat. No one beside me. I ordered a drink and watched the islands disappear below, green and gold and beautiful in the dying light. They were still there somewhere, scrambling to figure out who would foot the bill, still yelling, still pointing fingers, still wondering how things had gone so wrong. And the best part? They didn't even know it yet. But this wasn't just a vacation ruined. It was the end of the old arrangement. No more quiet support. No more monthly transfers. No more co-signing loans or covering for missed rent. No more picking up the pieces. I was done. And when they got home, credit cards maxed, flights rebooked, bills unpaid, stories spreading, I hoped it hit hard, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to be there to catch them when they fell. The silence lasted 2 days. I thought maybe that was it. Maybe they were so stunned, so embarrassed, they'd just disappear. That would have been fine. Better than fine, actually. Clean, simple. But no, day 3, the spin machine kicked in. It started with a post on Brandon's Instagram story. Some people wait their whole lives to ruin one vacation. Hope it was worth it, yeah, sis. Then a cryptic Facebook update from Jill. Families aren't perfect, but we grow stronger through love, not cruelty. And then came the full PR tour. Haley wrote a long, carefully worded email to a handful of extended relatives. Yes, she CC'd people. She framed it like a tragic misunderstanding. Natalie felt excluded due to a booking issue and reacted by canceling our entire trip without warning. It was heartbreaking. We're still trying to process the trauma. I guess spending 3 nights in a mid-tier chain hotel near the airport was too much for the system because, yes, that's how their dream vacation ended. They'd tried to stay at the original resort, confident someone would eventually cover the charges. Brandon told the front desk, "She's our sister. She'll fix it," as if I were a misplaced towel service, not the woman who quietly shut the door behind them. But the staff was ready. My name was off the reservation. My card was gone. They had everything in writing. 2 rooms were locked by noon. Resort security escorted them to the lobby with luggage still unzipped. They were offered the option to pay out of pocket. They couldn't, so they checked out. They spent the final 3 nights of their vacation in 1 room with 2 double beds and a rollaway cot at a hotel near the airport with no beach access and lukewarm breakfast eggs. I know this because a resort staffer, someone who watched the whole thing unfold, emailed me privately just to say, "We were all rooting for you." Apparently, the screaming really was loud enough to reach the shoreline. They skipped the remaining excursions. Never made it to Maui. The catamaran tour Brandon bragged about? Gone. Aaron cried in the lobby when they canceled Liam's aquarium visit after trying to guilt the ticket clerk into letting them in for free. When it was time to go home, reality hit harder. I had also canceled the return flights. They had to scramble at the airport, paying last-minute fares with whatever cards still worked. Haley's was declined twice. Rick ended up covering most of it with a credit card he said was only for emergencies. Turns out losing your free vacation midweek because you alienated the person funding it qualifies. By the time they landed, the story had already gone viral. Someone at the resort posted that short TikTok. When the family freeloader finally gets cut off, a clip of Brandon yelling in the lobby, a blurry shot of Jill crying, one of Haley storming off while holding 2 inflatable pool floats. 500,000 views in under 48 hours. The comment section was brutal. Protect Natalie at all costs. This is why you never bite the hand that pays for the helicopter tour. Plot twist. Natalie wasn't the quiet one. She was the loaded gun. Then came the real desperation. Back home, they realized the damage wasn't confined to Hawaii. I had canceled all ongoing support. The monthly money I sent Jill? Gone. The just-in-case savings account Brandon had access to? Closed. The shared Costco membership I'd been paying for? Revoked. I sent one final email. Simple. Final. Effective immediately, I am no longer providing financial or logistical support to any member of this family. Please do not contact me unless it's through a lawyer. They didn't take that well. Rick sent me a screenshot of a credit card bill with a passive-aggressive text. Your mother's really struggling. Any chance you could help? For her sake? I didn't reply. Brandon posted a photo of him and Jill looking sad at a diner, captioned, "Family is supposed to forgive." The comments backfired again. A friend of mine wrote, "Didn't you brag about ditching your sister in a motel? Good luck with that forgiveness tour." And then they went full scorched earth. They called around to mutual friends and extended family trying to plant the story that I'd overreacted, that I'd always been emotionally unstable, that the whole thing was part of a long pattern of control. It might have worked if I hadn't already released the video. I uploaded the original clip, the one I left in the hotel safe, just slightly edited for context. No commentary, just facts. A calm voice, a clear message. You didn't want me around. Now you're on your own. The internet took care of the rest. Some of their friends stopped calling. Jill lost her part-time bookkeeping gig. Someone who saw the video didn't want drama tied to their small business. Aaron's ex used the situation to argue for full custody, citing emotional instability and public embarrassment. Brandon tried to go on a podcast to share his truth. It got 4 views and 2 dislikes. Meanwhile, I was thriving. I booked a trip to Kyoto, just me. No guilt, no group chat. I walked under cherry blossoms, ate noodles in alleyway shops, and slept better than I had in years. I started building a new life, a smaller circle, but peaceful. People who liked me because I was kind, not because I was convenient. For the first time, I wasn't the support beam in a collapsing building. I was just free. The last message I ever got from Jill came 2 months later. I know you hate us. I just wish you'd remember we're still your family. I stared at it for a long time, then typed one line that used to mean something and hit send. It's been 9 months since the trip. Without my support, things unraveled fast. My mom and Rick struggled almost immediately. Turns out I'd been quietly keeping their budget afloat more than anyone realized. He picked up gig work to cover what used to come from me. She stopped answering calls from relatives after a few awkward conversations about how things went in Hawaii. Brandon burned through his last emergency fund within weeks. Haley moved in with her sister just until things stabilize, and he tried crowdfunding his way out of rent trouble. It didn't go well. One of the top comments read, "Maybe don't ditch the woman paying for your vacation next time." Aaron tried to get a loan co-signed. No one in the family would touch it. Last I heard, she was working retail and back living with her mom. I didn't gloat. I didn't reach out. I just moved on. Turns out peace is quiet and affordable, especially when you stop paying for everyone else's chaos. But now I'm wondering, was I right to finally draw the line, or did I go too far? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe.